Hello, everyone. It's Coach Mo Fall here for another episode of Bring Your Soul to Work. Coach Mo Live, Motivational Monday. Call it what you will. We're here to talk about a big career topic. And I am joined by my director of coaching, Milijana. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here to talk about this really important topic. Coach Milijana has been with me for... How long, Milijana, have you been with me on my coaching team, running my coaching teams?
4 years with you
4
on your
years.
team.
Yeah.
3 years with you as a director, and know each other for almost 7 years.
Wow. You want to give a little bit of your
Almost
story?
8 years.
2015.
2015. Yeah.
2016.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell a little bit, those folks who may have not met you, Coach Milijana and I go way back, and we feel so friendly and familiar with each other. So we're just going to dive into this topic. But for those of you who don't know or haven't met Coach Milijana, tell us a little bit about your background, and we'll dive into this topic of job trauma. Folks, you don't want to miss a single minute of this conversation.
So I'm the coach on the team. I'm a director of coaching, and I'm formerly the strongest woman in Croatia, a gold medalist in kickboxing, Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting. I graduated with a bachelor's in international business. I lived in Australia, in Germany, in Europe. I'm frequently in the US. And my background was very colorful. So I had the experience of going through war trauma, domestic violence trauma, physical mental abuse that I had to observe. So I was perfectly prepared to walk the journey, to find the tools that work.
Yes.
To feel the difference, to feel the neutrality, and then transform that into measurable outcomes, into measurable results outside, but also inside, the peace, the inner confidence, right? And so that's my passion. I love helping people overcome the blocks, the boundaries, and then creating outcomes that they couldn't even imagine were possible for them, and then also how to maintain them.
Right. And so you brushed over a little bit of your trauma past. And I do want to say that you are certified in neurolinguistic programming, humanistic neurolinguistic programming. And folks, if you're listening to this and you're not familiar with those techniques, they are techniques that help the nervous system advance through and release trauma patterns and other types of patterns that the nervous system gets sort of stuck in. It's sort of like getting stuck in a certain gear, isn't it? And these techniques help us break through from some of those patterns, and to replace that with a pattern that is more empowering and success oriented.
That's right. So some of the techniques are the NLP, neurolinguistic programming, humanistic neurolinguistic programming, or psychology. I'm a master in that. And then also some other tools that work very well. And it's also from person to person, like a tapping or emotional freedom technique, matrix reimprinting, timeline healing, that we get to use to neutralize what would sometimes feel like flashbacks, or the PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, or complex PTSD. So there's ways to clear, to neutralize them.
Right. And you've been personally moving through that journey for yourself. And then as you got into coaching, we realize that so many women that who we work with have similar trauma patterns related to their work and career. And I think I sort of coined this job trauma phrase. I don't really see it anywhere else, and we've been using it for years. I noticed early on in doing this work and coming out of corporate America and being a big executive, being traumatized by narcissistic bosses, being gaslit by people in the workplace, being passed over for promotions, being sort of scolded in meetings in front of people, being shamed. All of these things, especially if they stack on year after year, can create what looks like a trauma pattern in our nervous system. It creates this reluctance and fear and hiding. And in our nervous system, we have 4 typical responses: fight, flight, freeze, fawn. We've just recently sort of adding that freeze and fawn. And I think freeze is one of the things we're going to talk about here, because so many women get frozen in a job and don't know how else to be or where to go. So in my own personal experience, I know I was a victim of narcissistic, toxic bosses, toxic environments, being bullied and being shamed. And I didn't know it was like wrong. I just thought it was part of the way it goes. And I think a lot of women who we've worked with over the years, Milijana, are in a similar situation where they sort of take it on the chin. And also we turn to our family or our friends and they're like, yeah, that happens to me too. Yeah, that's part of it.
Normalizing it.
Absolutely. And isn't that part of a trauma pattern that stays when we are told we're wrong for having this injury? Now we're embedding this trauma pattern. And so, and I'm going to have you elaborate a little bit on this, but here's sort of the laundry list of what this does. And so what causes this is toxic bosses, toxic work environments, not getting promoted, not being moved ahead, being shamed in meetings, being shut down, being marginalized, being unincluded, disincluded, pushed down, told you're wrong, berated. I think most people are familiar with the gaslighting terminology and what that looks like. But it starts to have real problems for our careers. We become reluctant to move up the ladder. We're afraid we're going to get hurt more. We are reluctant to even go to work or participate. We start shying back, closing ourselves off, being less involved, or snarky, sarcastic, negative, making other people wrong. We really come to this point where there's like everything is wrong with work. And our whole nervous system is lit up and we're in a chronic stress pattern, which then turns into being sick. Sometimes being sick on Sunday evenings and afternoons, Monday mornings, being super stressed out. And then looking at my pattern, it can sometimes lead to very serious health conditions, car accidents, cancer, high blood pressure, strokes. We had a woman who had 2 strokes from the stress at work. And thank God we were able to coach her and help her recover from that. And now she's thriving like never before. But these are the things that literally can stall out a human being, much less their career. Let's talk about really the impact of this, because I mean, you and I both know a thriving career can mean the difference between hundreds of thousands and literally millions over one's career. And this type of trauma pattern can take a human being down a really bad, sick destiny. It's a huge gap.
Yeah. Not just the career being sick, but like you said, Mo, the physical symptoms are there. One of the most common, like anxiety, and something's wrong, and especially when you have like something's off, and the doctors can't find out what it is.
Right. Yes.
That's so common. And another thing you said, when we are in this toxic environment and we are gaslit, we have the toxic bosses, the toxic environment, and then our loved ones tell us, well, that's the way careers go. We start questioning ourselves.
Right.
And our confidence plummets, low self-worth.
Yes.
We start thinking we are the entire problem. And so we stay, because linked to that is something that we see in all the women is loyalty beyond common sense.
Right. Yes.
Because they hope they can change the situation.
Yes.
If I work hard enough, if I work for 3 people, they'll finally recognize me and they're going to promote me. And then they don't. You overwork, you get sick, you are just unhappy in your life. And then someone else with less experience and less education gets promoted.
Absolutely. And then you start feeling even more worse about yourself because you're like, there definitely is something wrong with me because that's what's happening. We have a client who is in a company that was just bought out, not just about a year ago, and they were going through their reorg. And the new boss is a narcissistic boss. She had a great boss, but 2 or 3 other narcissistic bosses before that great boss. And then that great boss left at the merger, now a new narcissistic boss. And she decided not to go ahead with the with the acquisition plan and the new org chart because she did not want to work for another narcissistic boss. And she reached out and she said, is there something wrong with me? And she knows there isn't, as she's already gone through our workshop and we helped her navigate this whole thing and really helped her make a powerful decision for herself and her family. But I think her question is something that is really important, because if we're suffering from job trauma, we are always questioning ourselves. So
not the good questions, the bad questions. What's wrong with me?
Right, exactly. Yeah. From the perspective of worthiness.
Yeah.
From the perspective of we're broken or we need to be fixed. Yeah. And we as coaches know that these are opportunities for us to spiritually evolve. And it's not to disregard it. But as I said to this client, this is your break from an ancestral lineage. And she said, oh my goodness, when I wrote my resignation letter, I was blessing my ancestors that no more of being treated this way. Now she's in a high level position. So on the surface, it looks like, what are you talking about? But she's suffering from job trauma at a very deep, very personal level. And we've had a lot of clients. Probably, if we were to categorize our clients, Milijana, I would say that definitely greater than 50%, probably 75% or more of our clients would categorize their career experience at least having enough of a job trauma situation, whether it's current and short term, or it's been chronic, that this is the thing that they identify with as they're trying to fix their career and they can't get out of it. So how do you know if it's job trauma? You can't get out of it on your own. Like,
that's it. You're stuck.
By definition, this is, yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to think about a few clients and we'll just sort of glaze over on some of the specifics so we don't get too into details. But some of these clients have done public interviews with us and we know them well and thank them for sharing their stories. But last year, Maria came to us after having quit her job of 12 years, completely nervous system depleted, wasn't paying attention to her family, husband, 2 kids, just was completely destroyed by the trauma pattern and the chronic nervous system disorder she was suffering from to stay in that job. And her only hope of anything was to quit last year before the holidays. And she thought she'd just bounce back after the holidays and find a new job and everything would be fine. Well, her story was much more complicated because she works in a very specific niche, and she did not realize how badly she was bruised on the inside.
You don't know until you're out of it. You don't know. You feel, but I think there's a saying, you can't see the label when you're in the bottle. You can't read the label when you're in a jar.
Right.
And so it was really a survival move to get out of there.
Purely.
Yeah. And, from surviving into now thriving.
Yeah.
That's what the resolution.
Right. And that's sort of like, I think she was about a 200K earner. At that level, you sort of feel confident in your work and may not even understand emotionally where you're hanging out. And she wasn't bouncing back into finding work. And she was actually willing to backslide, which is a very typical pattern. Let's quit this job and get something at a lesser value because I don't feel I can actually really play at that level. I'm a failure. It doesn't work for me. In order to play at that level, I have to be like that. No thanks. And so after working with us a couple of weeks, she realized what was going on inside. And she really leaned into our coaching. She leaned into the coaching program. She basically followed our proven formula and did everything. And I think it was by week 8, she was in a new job, perfectly feeling rock star ready, healed, understood the whole process, knew what had taken her out. And so far, so good, not repeating the patterns of the past. And as a matter of fact, I just loved on her on Facebook because I saw that she was taking a trip with her family to the Caribbean islands. And I comment to her, what a difference a year makes. Because she was not present for her family. She was not taking vacations. She's earning much more money than she was before. She's thriving at a whole nother level. She and her husband are closer than ever. And That's what healing that job trauma and getting back on track and being in her power. And she's a big personality. And, women who have big personalities are oftentimes criticized in the workplace, and they're not sure how they fit in. How can my big personality fit into this workplace? And they are typically victims of being shut down.
That's right. That's right. And then again, same thing. They get traumatized by being the authentic, powerful self.
Right.
And then it can move into overcompensating and being even more, or shutting down and completely, throwing the hands up in the air.
Yeah.
And so either strategy does not work to be in their soul power. And then after that, a bit of self-sabotage happens as well.
Explain the self-sabotage a little bit.
When we're traumatized, we form core beliefs about ourselves. I'm not good enough. What's wrong with me? And as human beings, we are rather right than happy. And so unconsciously, so not on purpose, we will make mistakes. We will forget things, because that core value, that limiting core value, will ensure that we are right. And then people will respond to that in a way so that by the end we can say, like, see, I was right. I am not worthy of high level of success. So that's when we push to the next level, right? It's called the Peter principle, or it's so how to break through that.
Right.
And so when you're traumatized, that's why we say, like, it's so important. Like, a lot of women are surprised to hear the first time, job trauma. What's that? It's the first time they hear it, when they get familiar with your work and your team, and things start making sense. It's like, what if nothing's wrong with me? Yes, there's room for improvement. I can improve my communication skills. I can improve my leadership skills, right?
I can step into my voice better. I can honor my achievements. I can do higher level work, but I've been holding that back because I was afraid of this pattern. I was afraid I wasn't really capable. I was afraid of my own brilliance.
A lot of fear, a lot of fear. Where do we feel it? We feel it in our gut, in our heart, like something's choking us, right? Like it's very much torso.
Right.
You might feel it, heaviness in your head, right? Your body will tell you. Your body will tell you. That's what we say, bring your soul to work. That's another thing that just surprises and shocks women. Like, that's possible? That's possible. So I don't have to suffer, right? Just accepting. There's a negative acceptance of, like, well, career suffering. I'll trade off my life to be there. And one of the most beautiful things that we see is that you can move out of the survival and suffering and being passed over for promotion to actually start feeling inner power, inner peace, inner certainty.
Right. We had a client who fired herself through an email exchange right before the holidays several years ago. And I remember talking to her before she joined our workshop, and she was so stressed that she sort of couldn't see what she had just done, but she kind of knew it. Speaking of the self-sabotage thing, she was so eager and ambitious to be right that she made everyone else in her company, or not everyone in the company, but the people she was dealing with on this particular project, she made them wrong, threw them under the bus, told them they were wrong, all this stuff. Literally, that email caused the end of her job. She did not realize that she was actually suffering from deep grief that she didn't give herself time to go through. So sometimes we actually have a hidden other emotional baggage that we are containing and keeping down because we either haven't given ourselves permission to deal with it, we don't know how to deal with it, no one in our family was emotionally evolved enough to deal with big emotional issues. And so that then starts to create a pattern at work where, in this particular client's situation, we've seen this over and over again, this level of deep anger starts to play out in the workplace and craters people's careers. And there's several clients that are coming to my memory who had such deep anger issues that they were ready to quit their jobs, walk out, etc. And some of them resolved that so much through our first several weeks of the work we do that they completely neutralized their work environment, got promoted, and things got so much better. All of a sudden, their boss changed, when they neutralized their anger and their job pattern, energy pattern. So this has been something this to me is where I think we do our best work, Milijana, as coaches, helping women really move through their energetic blocks, their energetic patterns that they've continued to repeat to themselves. I'm also thinking about Jen, who had like 3 bad jobs in a row. I think she was probably fired at all of them. Big personality, playing below her level, thinking that that was the way for her not to get fired next time. And she really had an emotionally complex history. And you know what? She realized that it was her, that she needed to do the healing. And she was so coachable and so ready. And she's one of our long-term clients now because she's come to our retreats. She's in one of our advanced programs, and she's really thriving and making better decisions in her personal life, like really thriving. It's a lifelong process to evolve as a human being. But being able to spend 12 weeks with experts to help walk you through a different version of yourself, a higher level version, a soul version versus a nervous system that is out of whack. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, and it changes lives forever. As a coach over the past 4 years working with me, what are some of the things that you would say to clients who are at the beginning of their journey or who are suffering, listening to this, who are not thinking that there's an answer to themselves? What are some things that you would say to those gals, having literally coached and moved hundreds of women through these types of things?
The first thing that comes is, this is the message you've been waiting for. I firmly believe there's a part of you, let's call it your soul, that knows that there's a way out.
Yeah.
There's a part of you that knows that there is the possibility to have a fulfilling life and career, and to, yes, have a compensation better than you ever had before.
Right. Yep.
And is it a journey? Is it unlearning of stuff and releasing of stuff, moving into emotional mastery? It is a journey, and it is seeing yourself as a top athlete. I think today we mentioned Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Everybody had a coach.
Yeah.
Everybody, anybody that has achieved world-class mastery had a coach or coaches.
Yep.
They were out there doing the work, but they would have never done it without the coach. They were there. It's a different set of eyes. It's a different angle. Yeah. A coach can tell you what you are masterful at and what can be improved. Yes. So this is like, treat yourself maybe for the first time in your life like your priority, like you and your career are important.
Yes.
And that you deserve to be supported by, I mean, here, world-class coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you and I come from a background of having moved through these things ourselves and gotten the training and the education and of course the expertise now with helping literally thousands of women through these patterns and helping them succeed and thrive in brand new ways. So, as you know, many of our clients say they've never been this happy. They've never been this successful. And we can tell on our clarity calls based on the conversations that we have and the types of questions that we ask, whether we can really help someone. And I haven't said it all this whole entire interview, but I do want to say to those of you listening, if you're a client of ours, I know that this registers, and I know you know the work that Coach Milijana and I do. And I suggest that you dive back into some of the modules and keep doing the work, because it's a lifelong process to evolve spiritually, which is what we're really talking about. And if you're not a client, mofall.com/talk will get you with one of our career breakthrough strategists who are specialists as coaches in listening to the exact problem and being able to understand if it's something we can help solve. And you will know what your problem really is and whether we can solve it or not. And if we can't, we'll send you another way. If we can, we'll talk to you about what that looks like in our 12-week workshop. We're very proud and happy, I think, Milijana, in general, with all the work that we've done to help women. Nearly 300 last year have gone through our gates, if you will, and we've lifted them up and shown them a different way. One of the cool things that I'm very happy and proud about is that we have lifetime access to all the materials for our ladies. And don't we see in our alumni group how important that is? Because our 12-week proven formula works, but you've got a life after that.
Absolutely. That's another shocking thing, positive shocking, that our clients receive. And this, like, after the core time with us, you have lifetime access to the alumni group, to the constantly updated materials, so that we keep them really up to date, to serve you and to serve your career and to serve your soul. Right. And the community is very strong. Another thing that is very important is it is a group of women. And for the first time, for many women, it's an environment where women want other women to succeed.
Yes. Yes. So many of our clients have said that, right? I've never had other women who want to see me succeed. And that's also its own level of trauma pattern, having that level of strong bias against your gender colleagues because of past experience. Anytime we are shifting ourselves because of past experience, we're sort of invoking this navigating trauma. And it can be pretty subtle because, again, as we mentioned earlier, we normalize it as humans because that's how we navigate life. We normalize difficulties in order to be able to live and survive. I have loved this conversation. As you know, this is one of the things I just love talking about. I love helping solve for our clients. I love bringing it to the forefront because so many women are struggling in their careers and they don't know what's wrong. And like you said,
that's the one thing.
They really are almost committed to the fact that they're the one who's wrong. And this concept and approach that we have, this methodology and how we bring ladies' souls back to life really helps solve this very, very common, very deeply troubling problem that women are facing in the workplace. And we're here to frickin' solve that because we got to get women in much more leadership positions, higher levels of power, in order to really make the world just a better place to live. If you don't mind me saying so, that's my position and I'm going to stick with it. So, ladies, if you're listening to this and job trauma is something that you're dealing with and you haven't really dealt with it, and if it's vexing you, it's probably costing you at least $50,000 a year. We've had many clients who it's cost them $80,000 to $100,000 a year in the fact that their job and their career trajectory has been blunted, if not taken backwards. And that's real money. It's real money for your future, for your family. Again, so many of our clients are enjoying better lives with their families because of the career that we've helped them get. So we would love to talk to you upward and onward for this new year. And again, to be able to investigate whether we can help you, it's mofall.com/talk for booking your complimentary career clarity call with our team. And we're delighted to coach you after we determine whether we can help you or not. And Milijana, thanks for joining me on this very important topic of job trauma, what it is, how to recognize it, and how important it can be to fix it in order to have a thriving life.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Again, this is Coach Mofall, and I'm here with my Director of Coaching, Coach Milijana, and we are wrapping up our conversation on job trauma, mofall.com/talk, so that you can book your complimentary career clarity call. We'll see you next time. Milijana, thanks for